Hello, everyone. How's everyone doing today? May all of you be having a great week. My name is Wanda. I am the founder and creator of Her Story in a Smile movement, where I share a safe space for women all over the world to come and have a way to reclaim their voice through storytelling and photographs. And today I wanted to create this video. Well, I actually did a video in Spanish. So if you have that Spanish friend, that Spanish loved one that you would like to share the Spanish video with, please go ahead and do so. I posted that video yesterday, and the topic that I am going to talk about today is domestic violence. For those of you that don't know, October, the whole month of October, we are here to raise awareness for domestic violence. And as a victim, as a witness of domestic violence from childhood all the way through my teen years and even in my adulthood life, I come here with true integrity, with sincerity, with no judgment. And so before I continue on and share my personal story, I want to make it clear that I'm not here to bring down anyone's name, right? The people that I mention, they're part of my life. They're my parents. So I'm not here to make one look bad than the other. They did that to themselves. All I'm doing here is giving honor, giving space to the women who deserve this, right? Who are worthy of being seen, being heard. And it so happens that one of these women is my mom. And so let's begin. I grew up in a very toxic, abusive household from a very, very young age. From what my recollection begins from age 6. I didn't have the best patient father per se, and so there was a lot of hitting involved just between me and him, right? But the most impactful thing was when my mother ended up in the hospital in my arms. It was a very traumatic experience because I had already known the years prior, the buildup, right? I had already seen the abusive lash outs, that would happen, the arguments, the discussions, the debates, right? There was never a say for my mom to have. And that ended up leading her, when she decided to speak up and confront my father, that's when she ended up in the hospital. And that day, till this day, I'm 29 years old, and I have not been able to forget about that memory. It's a memory I believe is gonna be with me for the rest of my life, not because I wanted to. That's something I wanna make clear. Trauma survivors of any type, specifically domestic violence, they won't forget. They don't forget what happened to them. They just learn to give themselves grace, give themselves forgiveness in order to find that peace that they have been so worthy of receiving. And so the arrival, the anticipation of this beating coming was at the same time unexpected because I was a little girl. I was, I believe, 7 or 8 years old when this happened. And so seeing all this happen, seeing that I had my brother who just happened to be born sick, attached to tubes and everything, it became a very traumatizing moment for all of us, right? However, speaking for myself, one of the worst parts I saw wasn't the fact that she got beat up as much. It was the fact that she had fallen in my arms in the hospital when we had just arrived there. It was a very traumatizing image that I have learned to begin healing from, but it's just something that is still, is sensitive to my heart till this day. And the only reason I feel more comfortable talking about it is because I have been talking about this, maybe not on social media as much, but I have been doing the work, right? And so what I've come to realize is that as a child, there's nothing you can do. You will feel helpless. Even if there's something you can do, once you grow up, you will, and if you remember, it will always feel like you never did enough. And I want to make that clear. If you're the child, if you're the witness, of domestic violence and you did your best, especially if you were a child, please know it was not your fault. This is something that I also still am trying to accept, as a child, as someone that I saw that I love so much get hurt, in such way. It's truly not our fault. There was truly nothing that we could have done, right? And if we did, it still wouldn't have felt enough. because we couldn't have prevented it, right? And now, as far as my mom goes, my mom is the definition of not only resiliency, because I'm not here to teach women to be resilient, because we've been that since we're born. And so my mom is not just resilient, but she is the definition of a true survivor, right? It may have taken her a long time, because that's one thing I need to make clear. The cycle, there is a cycle. The cycle does exist in domestic violence, especially in romantic relationships. It does exist. It begins off with, romantic love bombing, this and that, all the good, right? Making you feel good, preparing you, keeping you safe. And then boom, the first argument. And then boom, the name calling, the verbal abuse, the emotional abuse, the physical abuse, and so forth, right? And so when we go through all that abuse and then go back to once the storm has passed and everything's calm and forgiveness comes and the gifts come, it's not that we forget about what happened, but at the moment we don't want to go through that again. I feel that we block what just happened in order to keep moving forward in the relationship, right? Because even though there could be violence in a relationship, does not take away the fact that one of the non-abuser still loves that person, because they don't see that ugly side too often. So they're like, it was just a bad day, let me forgive. Not realizing that the perpetrator already has them in the cycle that they wanted, right? Because domestic violence is having power over the other partner in all forms. Like I said, emotionally, verbally, mentally, psychologically, physically, financially, and so forth. And so my mom, it took her a very, very long time to get out of the relationship. Even after she got out of the relationship, there was still a lot of abusive communication. And so one thing that my mom has taught me has been to not let my heart get cold, right? To not allow the world, to not allow the tribulations, the trials, the abuse to prevent me from loving, from accepting love, from being loved, right? My mom, through it all, still chose to love us, and chose to love others. Maybe not herself at that point, but she still chose to love. She still chose to smile. She still chose to keep it moving, right? She had many things against her that prevented her from moving forward, right? She didn't have the support system. She didn't have the knowledge. She was an immigrant back then, so there was no help for immigrants. It was a lot to endure. And the most unfortunate part when it comes to my mom is the fact that it took her decades to figure out that she mattered, that she was worthy, that she deserved a better life, that she deserved to be in a relationship. I did this in Spanish, so I don't even know why I'm getting emotional. But if you see her now, you see her in her space, you see how, because she moved to a new apartment. And this time she was able to decorate it her own way, do it her own way. My brothers are with her. They still live with her. To see her in a state of peace brings so much calm and joy and rest to my soul. Not because there was much that I could do for her, but because I realized that if she was letting her own experience go, not necessarily forget, but go so she can move forward, so could I, right? Because a big part of domestic violence is the long-term impacts that both the witness or the victim have when it comes to that. And that is long-term trauma, that is long-term PTSD, that is anxiety, depression, suicidal thoughts. There are women that don't make it out alive in domestic violence relationships. I know way too many women that I shouldn't know, that I shouldn't have a list, right? And a never-ending list of women who have not survived or who have barely made it out alive. And so with domestic violence comes long-term effects, and the long-term effects usually tend to be mental, physical, emotional, psychological, physiological symptoms. And I'm here today to say, the victim at that moment is not going to ask for help. They may try, she may try as a woman, she may try to ask for help, but her mind is so busy on surviving that she does not have time to think who to ask or who to go to for help. So if you are that friend, if you are that loved one, help in the best way possible. They may deny your help. That's okay. Don't push it. However, if they accept it, or if they say, or if you come in and say, how can I help? Don't say, let me help you with this. How can I help? So you can give them the freedom to choose where they may need help. Do it. If you can do it, do it. But most importantly, actively listen. Actively listen, because the survivor, the victim, is not looking for your advice specifically. They know deep down, they're intelligent enough to know that there are resources, there is professional help. But if they're coming to you, they just want to vent. They just want to let it out. So be an active listener. Listen to understand, don't listen to respond. As far as the victim, the survivor, you, my beautiful women, don't be afraid to ask for help. I know it's hard. I know truly deep down how hard it is to ask for help. The shame that comes with it, the embarrassment, the what ifs, the critics, it doesn't matter. What matters most is you coming out alive, you coming out strong. If you're a mom, your kids coming out alive and healthy with you and growing together with you. Accept the help, know that it's gonna take a village for you to get out. Know that you can't do it alone, but you are not alone, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to say that you can't get out of this alone, but it will be easier. It will be smoother for you to get out of this cycle if you have people who know the steps to domestic violence, who know how to get you out, who know how to seek safety and shelter for you. This is a time where even though we wish to hide, we need to be out, right? We need to give clues and signs. We may not be able to speak up because of fear, because of the endangerment of our lives, but start speaking little by little. Give hints. If you happen to have someone you trust, please pour your heart out to them, especially if they're being open with you. And other than that, I just want to keep saying, prevention is key. The more we educate ourselves, the more we become informed, the more that we get to see from the inside out, we will be able to prevent the misfortunes of women all over the world who go through domestic violence. I know domestic violence can happen to anyone, but again, this page is for women and it's meant to be a space for women. So I'm advocating as a woman that I am for the woman that I see and I support and I love. And so I want to end this video with saying, ni una más, not one more. We all deserve to be alive. Todas merecemos estar vivas. And my space will always be open to any woman who is ready to reclaim their voice, who is ready to share her truth, her story. I will always be here. Don't hesitate to reach out via DMs, my Linktree, which is linktree/HerStoryInASmile, or my email, HerStoryInASmile@gmail.com. I love you all. Stay safe.